Forming the British Empire is actually very simple. Unlike Mongolia, it's just a form of repetition. It's go to country, annex country, and go to the next. Of course, some problems may arise in your game. For example, a superpower taking something you need, like USA taking Canada. That cannot be avoided because you can't really affect other people's choices, but you can use your diplomatic skills, aka talking in chat, to dissuade them and make them give you the country. And sometimes, you know, they won't really give it, so it's up to your skills to fuck them over. Because the British Empire has a lot of things, and that means a lot of countries will want your land, or your former colonies. This guide is here to just show you how to get started with the British Empire, and then continue on from there. You actually forming the empire will be based purely on luck and your own skills, and your commitment of course. Let us begin. Okay, so the basic setup for the UK is this. You wanna immediately justify on Isle of Man and Ireland. Click on the right hand bottom corner on this button so you can see your justifications. Get factory output 2 and get massed attack and create 3 different groups. Call them whatever you want. Move your troops into this spot. It's really important that you click on this spot, not on the city or the infantry, because that will make you not able to attack them. Build 4 cities, 1 steel, 1 motor, 1 fertilizer, and 1 electronic. Immediately declare on Isle of Man when it's done. And auto capture. Also justify on Sierra Leone. Buy the necessary resources. Try buying the same amount as I'm doing at the moment, because I'm preparing for the future. Move your troops into Ireland, and right click all of these buttons so you get the maximum amount, like this. Right click, right click, right click. Easy. And with your money you got now, build 1 motor factory and 3 more civilian factories. Keep buying the necessary resources. 5 iron, some gold, and some copper. And declare an island. Now, there are 2 expansion routes, one in Egypt and one in Nigeria. But you want to declare on Nigeria first, because that is the best way. Because you can attack South Africa and then all these countries. Ireland just killed their troops, so we're gonna be doing this, a form line, and auto capture island. You can also buy aluminium and chromium if you want to get an aircraft manufactory later on. Now Sierra Leone is done justifying. So we're gonna be justifying on Egypt. If they are a player, you want to justify on Palestine or Israel, so you can attack them from on the mainland and just snipe their capital. They will most likely leave because it's the early game and you know nobody wants to fight a death war already. So justify in Egypt or Palestine, but I'm gonna justify in Palestine to show you how it's like to play as that. Ireland is done, move your troops down to Sierra Leone or Jamaica if you like that. But the thing is, if you're doing Jamaica, you're gonna be doing a lot of island hopping. Like this here, and all the Pacific. I don't like doing that, so I prefer to go to the Gold Coast. And your economy is up, so we're gonna be killing 3 more civilian factories. Now your consumer goods are done, so sell it to an AI. I'm going to sell it to India for convenience, but you're probably gonna sell it to some random small countries, so then sell them like 12, 12, 12, whatever suits you best. Like this. I'm gonna link a list of how many consumer goods you can sell. Nigeria is done, so also justify on Cameroon. Now when you have 50 million, you wanna build tanks. For all your money, and get max government spending and max research spending. It's really important that you get max government spending, not so much research spending, because they will be mostly useless at the end. But this is really important because you want nationalism and fascism. Specialize these troops for jungle. And also justify on Egypt now. Buy oil if you're in a deficit, like I am here. So I'm gonna buy from Algeria, because it's not a colony. And just keep building tanks if you have enough money. Also get high taxation law. And now on consumer goods are done, so we're gonna be selling these to 170 million. And that's the basic setup for economy. Now you should have a nice 20 million trade income. I'm not going to do more because you will probably not experience the same as I'm doing now. I'm in a private server, everyone is an AI, but for you, people will most likely have sold to AI's countries at this point in time. So that's all I'm gonna do. Now your troops have arrived in Sierra Leone, so we're gonna be declaring. And since our justification with Cameroon is done, we're also going to be justifying on South Africa. Don't worry about justifying on them if they're a player. They're not going to care that much, and if they care, they are super weak. Their capital is so exposed and it's so low population. You can just get it with 200 tanks. Egypt is done. And now we're also going to be justifying on Israel. The tanks are done. You want to have around 4,000 when going to Nigeria. Move these troops down here. Build more tanks. And if you're wondering how I'm doing the shift click, I'm just shift clicking like this to move the lines like such. So just shift click and left click. Auto capture civilian. You can build an aircraft manufactory if you have enough money, and also some extra civilian factories preparing for the future. To build like 3 civilian factories, and 1 motor, and 1 fertilizer. I'm in oil deficit again, so keep buying oil. And train these troops for arid. Because these troops are going to go into Egypt, the Middle East, and Pakistan, and Sudan too. Now I'm done with Israel, so I'm gonna justify on Jordan. I have enough political power to go the ideology, so I'm gonna go nationalism. It's the best choice for the British Empire, and that's why I like it so much. Just because it reduces military cost by a lot, and it also reduces your justification time, especially fascism, and annex Sierra Leone. With that money, build more tanks. Now my tanks are trained, but we want to use at least 4,000 again in Egypt, so we're gonna move these troops either ways, even though half of them are not trained. In South Africa, justification is done, so we're gonna be justifying on Namibia. And that's why I wanted you to move your troops over here, because we're gonna be using these ones to kill Namibia. And since Nigeria is done, we're gonna be attacking them. Like on this city, just stay in this city. Nigeria will most likely be an AI most of the time, but if they're not, well then get Cameroon or Ghana and attack them later on when you're much stronger. I think I justified on Sudan, I did not, so I'm gonna justify now. Train these troops for jungle and build more tanks. You want to keep at least 50 million in treasury so you don't go into debt, and that's really important. Now get another research thing here, research slot. Now it's just waiting for a troop to die, and then doing this, and auto capture Nigeria. Okay, my troops have arrived in Egypt, so I'm gonna use these troops, go into Sudan. The non-arid specialized ones. And my arid specialized ones, I'm gonna attack Egypt with. Now you also want to justify on Burma and Malaysia. Also declare on Sudan. And move these troops here. I'm just doing this because I forgot to add specialize them. In your case, you will most likely just attack with all your tanks in Egypt and then move those tanks up to Sudan and go into this city. And since our justification with Namibia is done, we're gonna be attacking them with the Conquest Casus Belli. Hell yeah. These tanks are done, so move these into Asia. And now, since this is done, we're gonna be auto-capturing Egypt. Nigeria should be dead now. You can annex when it's just 90% left. In this case, it is. So just move these troops down to Cameroon now. And attack, of course. Now the Sudanese troops are dying, so we're gonna be doing another line. And auto-capture. At this point in time, you're gonna have at least enough military power to get a leader. So get an army leader. I got a decent one, and just assign this to a group. And I forgot to mention this, but you should assign to a group like this. That's dumb of me. And then assign your troops too. Develop if you have enough money, but only develop for half the cost, so if in this case, develop for 200 million. Because I have 400 million income. Build some planes, fighters, and a navy if you're scared of France and Germany. Like destroyers and maybe one submarine. Our justification with Burma is done, so we're gonna be justifying on India now. Now, India will most likely be a player. In that case, you should justify on Bangladesh or Pakistan. And you should only attack them when you have enough population. In this case, I have a population of 100 million. Attack them when you have a population of around 200 million, same as them. In that case, you will be evenly matched, but you can win if you have a stronger navy than them. Justifying Zimbabwe. And auto-capture Cameroon. And get more tanks. Now Egypt is done. If Sudan was a AI, you were gonna be using your tanks to go here, and then auto-capturing. But since we did that already, we're gonna be using these tanks in the Middle East. Which you are also gonna be doing, half in Middle East and half in Sudan. And move your 4000 tanks down into Asia. Get more oil if you have a problem. And by this point in time, get your research spending to none. And taxation law to max. You don't have to worry about stability, you will have plenty. Mainly because you get a 1 stability boost because of nationalism each time you declare war, but also because you get a base stability boost of 25% because of consumer goods. We can move this all to the capital instead of having problems. My little tanks. Also, start justifying on South Sudan. And start killing off the Middle East countries. Now these tanks don't have to be specialized. You can get how many you want because these tanks and the tanks in Nigeria are going to be used to kill South Africa. Get Israel and then maybe Palestine too. Oh, I forgot to annex Egypt, that's a mistake again. Now Zimbabwe is done justifying, so justify on Tanzania. Cameroon is dead, so move your troops down into South Africa. Israel is also dead, so declare on Palestine. And annex Israel. Auto-capture Palestine. Like such. You don't have to worry about 20,000 troops, you have 1,000 tanks. That's more than enough. And also, declare on South Sudan. And start justifying on Kenya. And also start declaring on Jordan. annex all the leftover cities, and develop if you have enough, and also build more tanks. Just keep building tanks. Use all your MP for tanks. You should have none left. Namibia is dead, so just annex. And now Sudan has killed their troops, South Sudan has killed their troops, so just auto-capture them. Same with Jordan, just auto-capture. Now the troops have arrived in Asia, split them in half, use 2000 troops in Malaysia, going for the capital, and use 2000 troops in Burma, going for this little spot right here. Start justifying on Iraq when you have killed Jordan. And move your troops into position. This city. Now when South Sudan is dead, you want to declare on Kenya. And move your troops into this city, Lodwar. And start justifying on Uganda. Now my tanks have arrived in South Africa, so we're gonna move them into position. We're gonna be using half our tanks in the west, and the rest in the east. Declare on them and move them into this city, Mtata. Asian countries should now have killed all their troops, so just form lines and auto-capture the respective countries. So in this case, Burma and Malaysia. And start justifying on Bangladesh. Now the reason why we're going to this city is because these troops can reach us and they're gonna die. So yeah, massacre. Move these troops to kill Zimbabwe. And just form a line like this and auto-capture South Africa. And use these troops to kill Kenya. And now just declare on Iraq. And that's the basic setup. This is what you're gonna be doing at the beginning. Now you just have to declare on countries that's left over in Africa. In this case, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Tanzania, Uganda, Somalia. They will most likely be an AI. And just do the same thing as I've done before. Just justify, declare, move into one city, form line, attack. In Asia, you wanna attack Australia later, and New Zealand, and Papua New Guinea. And then do the dreaded island hopping campaign. But that's at the end. You wanna do that last, because it's so annoying. Okay, how do you kill India? Well, it is actually very simple, and I'm only going to be going off the AI India, because a player India is much more annoying. In that case, just form a line like this, and auto-capture their country. Use a navy here, with an aircraft carrier, and another aircraft carrier here to just kill off all the units, and then use tanks to capture big cities. And they can't do anything about it, because you have an aircraft carrier. They're super OP, just take their ports, and they can't build a navy. But how do you kill an AI India? Well, first, declare of course. Use 7 to 8,000 tanks in this city, and another 7 to 8,000 tanks in this city. You also have tanks from before when you attacked Burma and Malaysia, so use these tanks to take here, so you move these troops away. Now their troops will just move to these tanks, because the AI works like that, and just kill themselves. Now move these tanks here, so you attract these guys in the capital. Now, since this is done, you just wanna move like this. Form a big line, same as here. And auto-capture India. You can specialize them, but I just like to do arid in the west and jungle in the east. In the south, it's basically just a jumbled mess of terrain. We have jungle, it's arid, jungle, and normal for most of the country. Now these ships have died, so just do this. And auto capture India. And that's basically it. That's just how you kill India as fast as possible. You can do this just whenever you have time, as long as you have like 15,000 tanks, 14,000 tanks, or 16,000 tanks. Whichever works. And there we go. We should now be able to annex India. You don't have to capture all of their cities, just 90%. What are some common problems you can experience as the UK? Well, first off, Europe. You don't want to touch Europe. Don't even think about Europe. They are so annoying, and if France for some reason attacks you, just build destroyers on your entire coastline. They won't attack you after that. They will just get scared. But just in case, build attackers and fighters. Get the doctrines, massed attack, capital fleet, and air supremacy for the best experience. Because you kinda want a aircraft carrier later on, so you can just fight them off if you're in deep trouble. But just build tanks and a air force, and they will stay off. And navy, of course. Another problem is Canada and Hong Kong. They for some reason get taken out by the USA and China most of the time. You can either ask them to give it to you nicely, or, you know, capital snipe and say give up Canada or Hong Kong. But on killing Australia is just move like 1000 tanks here and another 1000 tanks in the west, and just auto capture, and that should be easy. You don't want tanks moving in the middle because attrition, and it's super big and there's a lot of arid. So just attack from the coastlines instead. And yeah, that's basically it. Goodbye.